Andre, welcome to On Target Equality.
Thanks for having me, Bennett. Looking forward to talking and getting to show the world more about me.
I'm excited myself. I think it's actually safe for me to say that you're the fastest person that we've had on this series so far, and that might be actually the right theme to start with. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little background about yourself?
Definitely. Well, as you've mentioned, I have been a highly talented athlete, and that basically just all came from just my background and me looking for an outlet. I know that I grew up in a pretty rough environment. I grew up in New Orleans for about 7 years. I was in Hurricane Katrina, which allowed me to relocate to the Bay Area, and me and my friends would be the guys that just went to the park and played sports all day instead of being involved in other activities. Sports continued to be an outlet through high school, and I was able to achieve lots of success within that realm. I became a nationally ranked athlete because I was blessed to be around great coaching. One of my coaches actually is at Oregon now. And I started working out on the weekends, learned how to stretch, learned how to actually research what I was doing and why I was doing it. And that allowed me to achieve success at a high level and get a full ride scholarship. So,
Wow.
um, you want me to just continue about my journey after the scholarship process?
Well, actually, let me ask you a quick question there. I mean, Hurricane Katrina. I mean, that's very well recognized by anyone who's gonna see or hear this. I guess at the time, at the age that you were, I mean, did you recognize the sort of the force of nature that you were being impacted by, and kind of the state of how traumatic that must have been for you and the family?
So initially, I didn't. I was actually not self-aware of how it developed me until I started to do more insight as to my personality and why. I've always been a very positive person and always very grateful. And I've discovered that one of the reasons I've been grateful is because I've seen, what worst of the worst look like. I've seen what can happen when money has zero value and you can offer somebody $100 and they'll throw that on the ground and take a water bottle instead. So I have a different appreciation for gratitude and a different understanding what low is. And I've just always gone through my life happy, grateful, and just very appreciative of every opportunity I get because, I understand like all of this can be taken away in the snap and you'll have to relocate. And being 11, I was sheltered by a lot from my father's perspective, but I also still was at the Superdome with thousands of people. I saw like the camaraderie. I saw a little bit of the dangers, and that just taught me a lot of perseverance and just gratitude throughout the rest of my life.
Wow, that's quite an experience. I don't mean to deviate why we're here today, but I wanted to learn more about that. So yeah, go ahead and continue on. So you were a highly regarded sprinter nationally in high school. You went on to run in college. Why don't you kind of catch us up from there?
Yes, so I chose to go to Washington State, and I actually had a pretty good time there during my first couple of years. But I will say I did not vet properly. Just one of the bigger issues was just me not being acclimated to the weather and me not consciously taking vitamins and understanding the impact of no sunlight and just the impact of being in the snow and in the cold and not mentally preparing myself. So while I was there, I almost broke two different records as a freshman. I was one of the only during my year, I was the only underclassman that made it to a Pac-12 final, academic All-American, and I was able to win Pac-12 Athlete of the Year. But I did transfer out my junior year just because of some of the things that I mentioned, just mentally with my mental health in the sun. And I saw a better opportunity at Northridge because that's where Team USA track and field coach was. So I wanted to progress and be at that level. And we had an agreement that I would be able to coach the moment I graduated. So,
Oh, okay. So let
um,
me just make sure that I'm hearing this correctly. So you were an elite runner at Washington State, which is a Pac-12 Division I school. You were on scholarship. You got Pac-12 Athlete of the Week, but you saw something as an opportunity for you at Cal State Northridge because of the fact that you'd be able to learn and grow underneath the tutelage of Team USA's coach. Is that accurate? Gotcha.
yes.
Okay. And tell me about that experience.
So Northridge was a little bit different for me. After transferring and just hearing a lot of people telling me that I may be making a mistake, denying offers from much bigger schools, I went in there with a different mindset. It wasn't just about graduating to me. It was about maximizing my full potential. So once I was there, that's when I became the vice president of the NAACP. I picked up my first internship. I started working the job at the call center that I would do after I got done with practice. I won a Big West championship because of that work ethic that I was able to continue to apply. And I was also awarded Big West Scholar Athlete of the Year out of a pool of about 3,500 students because of me just understanding how to use my resources, how to read the textbooks, how to filter out the important information, and learn how to translate that out while I wasn't there. So I can say I'm a bit self-taught as well, but Northridge was humongous in my maturity because that's where I learned that there's a world outside of athletics. And I started to develop more of my business acumen and started to gain a little bit more of an entrepreneur mindset.
I see. Yeah, you sound like you're very versatile. I actually want to understand that a little bit more. You know, just on the perspective of like, what's the approach to train as an elite sprinter? I mean, it's such a different sport than I'm used to as a guy who played basketball. You know, where you have 4 quarters. There's so many different runs and swings in the game. In sprinter, it's all about. It sounds like on the outside looking in, it's all about the mental approach, the training beforehand, and then really just letting go and you know, letting it rip, right, so to speak, and that's all you have. What was your approach in terms of, you know, training for races, training to be this sort of elite sprinter who was, you know, Big West Scholar of the Year, while also juggling responsibilities as a high-level student, working at the call center, and being the vice president of the NAACP?
Well, I was blessed in high school. I kind of brushed over this, but I was taught by the head, like he's now one of the top sprint coaches at Oregon. And I was trained around multiple different athletes from multiple different schools. So to the average person, I was elite. But when I went into that camp, I was like at the bottom of the pecking order. I'm training next to world-class level athletes, people who held world records.
Sure.
One of my best friends was the National Athlete of the Year. So once I got around them and I got around that environment, you start to understand it's not about just doing things. You have to understand why each thing is done. So I was able to maximize my time when I was training compared to the average person. I understood that if you're doing squats, it's not just about doing the squat. If you go down at a certain speed and pop back up, if you maximize your form, you'll get more out of it than a person who's just doing it. Understanding the importance of relaxation, knowing if I try harder, I'll be worse. So everything I need to do, I need to be calm, I need to be relaxed. The small intricacies of the jog. While I'm jogging, I'm working on my posture, I'm working on my turnover. While I'm warming up, each warm-up drill has a specific purpose. So there was literally nothing that I did without me understanding why it was done. And that's what allowed me to achieve success. And that's also what allowed me to achieve success in my coaching career thereafter as well.
I gotcha. Yeah, you're hitting on a pretty important point, which I think is totally relevant to technology sales, which is kind of why we're here, is most people who are earlier in their sales career, I myself included, rely upon self-knowledge. So, you know, you go into the industry with, oh yeah, selling is just telling. You know, let me just tell a bunch of people about, you know, what it is that my software or my technology can do. And then all of a sudden I'm going to get an outcome. And what I experienced was that, and it sounds like you maybe had this experience under the tutelage of this coach at Oregon, which is part of growth is not so much about learning things as it is much about unlearning the way that you've been doing them.
Yes.
And a lot of people struggle with that in technology sales. And I think it's really, really important that you've had that experience. And I also just like kind of the humility that you're bringing to this conversation around, look, man, you've been well received as a high level athlete in the NCAA Division I level. But you're talking about coaches who have been sort of catalysts for you achieving the levels that you have. And I think that's, that's admirable. And, it's a real, esteemable attitude to be taking, coming into something that's going to be brand new to you here within technology sales. So graduation happened. I understand you graduated with a 3.6 GPA. Again, you were the Big West Scholarship Athlete of the Year. So of all of the athletes in all of the Big West, Andre McBride was awarded the Athlete of the Year. That's no joke.
I was actually, it was 8 of us. I won't take the credit. It was 8 out of 35.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I could have taken that credit, but I don't want to get Googled by someone and have to look at my DMs later. So it was 8. I wasn't the only one, but I was definitely one of the only African-American males, and I was one of the only I brought some color to the stage during my photo. I'll say that. That was one thing that I did notice as well.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you setting the record straight. So what happened after college?
Yeah, so this is where my journey gets a little bit chaotic. I spent 1 year interning under the current coach that was the Team USA coach. And that was humongous for me because you think you understand what talent is, but once you see gold, bronze, and silver medalists form of training, you get a completely different mindset of what hard work is. And that's kind of the same way I'm approaching the tech industry. You watch how everything that goes into their body is benefiting them. Their sleep, everything they say. In between every rep, they're stretching, taking care of their body. They're seeing chiropractors. They're going and getting different devices put into their body to see certain percentages of where their weak points are. So that was humongous in my development. And I was able to translate that out into a coaching career, into my own speed business. So
I see.
I left LA and moved to the Bay Area. So I was working at a juvenile detention facility at nights. And then I would wake up at night and then I would go and coach for the majority of my day, go to sleep, and just repeat the process.
Wow.
So I had a friend who actually offered me an opportunity to work for a mental health company. And as I transitioned there, I was blessed enough to become the VP of a startup. And that was where I got my entrepreneurship mindset. He taught me how to scale a business, how to promote yourself, how to make a business card, how to get client testimonies, how I can record myself, do videos, and do marketing campaigns that will allow me to drive a new business. So I took that role and I started my own speed business and I started my own mentoring services from the lessons I learned there. And I can successfully say I've trained like 30 clients at least and had about 5 different ones through the mentorship program that I helped co-found. So I've been able to support myself with my own revenue over the past year, which I'm thankful for.